All right, everybody, welcome back. This is Tech Talk with Dan Harley, episode number 127, How Small Business Can Compete and Beat the Big Chain Stores. This is a special segment of Tech Talk, episode number 10 of Free and Almost Free Ways to Advertise Online, recorded on May 22nd, 2018. I missed last week because I'm working on a pretty large project I'm going to be rolling out here pretty soon, and it got away on me here. But however, I got lots of some inquiries about some small business owners trying to compete with the big guys, and I actually get this a lot over the many years I've been doing what I've been doing here, internet solution consulting, internet marketing, and the question is, how can small business compete against the big chain stores? They spend millions of dollars in advertisement. They have more employees. They got bigger staff. They got more stuff. They can, overrun a small business without meeting a beat. So we're going to cover how small business can not only compete, but actually beat the big chain stores. So anyway, if you are, by the way, in case you are new to this channel podcast show, I'm Dan Harley. I got over 20 years of internet marketing, internet solution consulting experience with my company, Prime Concepts. I like to, this show here is to help. I've helped countless businesses succeed aligned with their websites, internet marketing, SEO, social networking, email marketing, and a lot more stuff. This YouTube channel and the podcast show and the Facebook pages and Twitter stuff is to help me help more business owners out there succeed. Answer some questions, solve some problems, provide some sound advice and direction to succeed online. You can find links to the YouTube channel, the podcast show, the Facebook page, the Twitter channel, all this stuff, and details about the episode of Tech Talk at primeconcepts.net, which is the website. That's primeconcepts.net. While you're there, please leave a comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel and podcast show, like the Facebook page. You know the drill. So do me a favor, do all that, and thank you, and I greatly appreciate it. So anyway, to the topic. How small businesses compete and beat the big chain stores. Let me tell you a little story here of a client I had a few years back. This is one client that he sold imperfect diamonds, basically B grade, C grade type of diamonds, lower grade than what you would see, let's say, at Zales or something like that. But also less expensive. So you get a 2-3 carat diamond for about the cost of a half carat, diamond. So it was a there's a market for that. So anyway, it happened to be at the beginning of the recession. The client found me. The economy was already really bad at this time, and he was pretty desperate at the time he got a hold of me. And he didn't have a whole lot of money, and basically what he needed to do is sell the stock he had so he could move on, get out of the business and move on. So it was a kind of dire straight situation, but I took him. We took him in. We did we did a discovery interview, just like I do with all my clients, which is free. And then we also did some competitive review. We look at all his competitors, which is Zales, Jared's, K Jewelers, Diamond Direct. The big guys here, and where they spend millions in advertisement, and where we had hundreds. They're spending $1 million, and we're going to have hundreds to play with. So. Needless to say, that market was extremely competitive, even between the big stores. They're trying to cut each other's throats, and with their big budgets and army of marketers, and so there wasn't a whole lot of room for little old, Dan his little old client here trying to struggle to wiggle in there. But we with due diligence, we found a niche. We found a couple cracks in the armor here. So. One thing I decided to do here, fortunately, this situation was I had nothing to lose. So we decided to try some search engine marketing, some SEO stuff. And basically we started aiming towards low-hanging fruit, basically targeting where the big guys weren't targeting or had a hard time targeting, okay? So we still found some niches out there, and especially we started geo-targeting certain search terms. For example, if we look for jewelers in Minnesota or diamond rings in Austin or the liking, 20, 30, 40 different type of long tail keywords, and then we start getting to second tier, third tier, fourth tier cities here, we're starting to find out where the big chain stores break down, where they're not really covering these areas. So if you the moral of all that, the more you look, the more likely you find something that even SEO, even now, that it might not be as competitive. So start building up some SEO stuff to aim at those low-hanging fruit, for lack of better terms. Also, we went directly at targeting the high competition search terms, like diamond jewelers in New York and Beverly Hills and stuff like that. And we beat them sometimes. And here's something interesting. The situation we're in, all we needed was just a handful of wins. We didn't have to win all the time, just enough. So that was kind of the game plan, is just get a small little niche, small little sliver of what's going on, and it's gravy for my client. So long story short, in doing that, we were actually getting some pretty good, in a relatively short time, we started getting some pretty good traffic to my client's website. And client was able to sell his supply out within about 3 months and close the business respectfully and move on. So now, one way you can look at that is this is kind of a story of, you could say it's a failed situation, but also it's in a successful situation. We accomplished the objective in this, and I'm really proud of that. Even though we didn't take the client to bigger heights and stuff like that, I'm happy that he was able to move on and hit his objective, move on. So anyway, so what happened? Why did the big chains, what can the big chains can or cannot do? Why were we able to beat them? Okay, a couple of general things that I've worked with larger chain franchises and stuff like that as well. So I see both sides of the situation. A few big factors here. First of all, the big franchises, the big chain type of stores, they can't maneuver very quickly. They make decisions. For instance, the search terms that we were in, search engine marketing, we were able to go in there and find the loose ends, the holes to target, and we were able to build up a campaign to hit those things directly. And we made these decisions within minutes or hours of finding this stuff. Whereas, and these big chain, these large companies, they definitely knew we were. Within a very short time, they knew what we were doing, and they knew we were targeting, because we're starting taking market share away from them all of a sudden. And we did get a full court press, and we did have a couple run-ins with Google. And I experienced something interesting. If you have enough money, you can tell Google what to do. So we were essentially booted out in certain areas, but we were still able to maintain a pretty respectable SEO campaign despite of all that. But aside, and the moral of all this here is, instead of going after these search terms as we were, these big companies weren't able to adjust fast enough to compensate with what we're doing. All they could do is try to kick us out. So another problem that big chains have is they have a lot of bureaucracy. So decision makers often shut down prudent internet marketing strategies, and frankly, because they're afraid to get sued, afraid something's going to happen, and so they don't want risk the big picture, so they'll back out. Also, another thing here too is inefficient marketing budgets. A lot of these big chain stores, they'll try to hit a fishing nail with a sledgehammer, so all that works, but they're just using too much force for something that is relatively small. So now this brings to the advantage of small businesses and how you're able to maneuver and around the big businesses and beat them, actually. So a big advantage of small businesses, the big thing is you're more personal. Okay, you'll have deeper customer connections than the big chain stores. Also, because you're small, you're more maneuverable. As we worked with my client here, we're able to bounce back and forth between search terms and stuff like that. And this is just SEO stuff. Had we continue on, we probably would have been able to get into social networking. We'll get that a little bit here too. Okay, and we're also able to focus on niches Whereas big chain stores, they try to do a more of a blanket approach. And also focus on communities. We're able to target certain communities, and whereas big chain stores, they try to do a nationalized type of relationship. So anyway, back to how we can adjust small businesses to compete online with the larger businesses. Search engines go that way first. One thing we did, like I say, with my my Diamond client here, we did what's called geo-target search engine marketing, where we were actually targeting regions, cities, second tier, third tier, fourth tier cities, and creating some long tail keywords like diamond dealers in Austin, diamond dealers in Amarillo, Texas. Hundreds of these smaller second, third tier cities where the further down you go, you eventually find out where the larger companies don't penetrate. So there's going to be an area there where it's completely wide open. So that's all we need to do is simply do some more research, and we find out where they're at. So anyway, so that's what we did. It was very effective. Also, something that was not available at the time is not necessarily search engine marketing, but it's something called geofencing. Had this been around at the time here, I would have put a campaign together to target. What geofencing is, basically, we're able to advertise based on proximity, based on location. So, for instance, if somebody walked into a big chain diamond jewelry store, we're able to target that cell phone and rotate ads to my client based on where they're at. So that would have been extremely effective. This is something that the big chain stores theoretically could do, but because it's relatively new, they were not, we're able to jump on this technology right away as a smaller business, where the larger business had to review and go through the bureaucracy before they decide to do that. And then they're going to take a long time to actually make it effective. So they're going to spend a lot of money, whole lot of money, just to test this stuff out before they really jump into it. Okay. Something that's much more effective now than it was back with my client, working with my Diamond client here, is social networking. The power of blogging, the power of touching local areas, a community through social networking such as Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. It's much more effective now than it was 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Okay, blogging about community outreach, personal involvement in the community. That stuff goes a long way. Whereas you see a lot of these large chain stores, they don't do that. They're not allowed to because of compliance issues with corporate. So that's one of those things that's wide open for small businesses to exploit, where big businesses cannot. So anyway, so advantage small business. So, and let me give you an example here too. With social networking as a big business, this is something most people don't realize. It tends to be a place for people, irate customers, to complain. For instance, there's an example of Walmart. They did a major, a few years ago, they made a major promotion to support veterans. Spent a lot of money on this good, feel-good, warm project. We're going to help these veterans, disabled veterans, with this outreach. And they're going to spend probably at least hundreds of thousands, maybe $1 million on this particular project, this outreach project. And it turned out to be a big disaster because it opened up a platform for irate customers to complain about their experience at Walmart, one of the stores, return policies, so on and so forth. So what was meant to be a good, feel-good project, something noble that Walmart did, turned out to be actually a media disaster to some extent. Whereas you don't really have that same situation as a smaller business. Let's say you have a complaint with Walmart. Another example is Starbucks recently here, that big old debacle where somebody got kicked out for using the bathroom, not using the bathroom, or staying in the store too long. There's been a big debacle where the head honchos of Starbucks really shut the store down and all the stores down and did some type of training, sensitivity training, and reopen here. And, one incident from one location literally shuttered down the business. Now, if this happened to a smaller business, a smaller coffee shop, bluntly, it might, similar situation. It's tragic. I'm not sure exactly the details of it. It is tragic to have a customer treated like that. However, realistically, this will probably be forgotten within a couple weeks had it been a smaller business. Whereas a larger business, this becomes a big issue. So anyway, it comes down to really concentrating on your strengths as a small business, which you certainly have a lot. Now, some Q&A I had brought up here, okay? First of all, to compete against the larger businesses, do you have to spend a lot of money? Well, absolutely not. You don't have to. In fact, bluntly here, you cannot go toe-to-toe with them anyway, with the large business anyway, because they got more money, okay? Bluntly, so... you can't compete against Walmart because they spend millions and billions of dollars in marketing where your budget will never, ever come close to that. So the key is you need to spend smart. You need to spend wisely. You need to target a niche. You need to make sure every dollar is going to count. Whereas Walmart, as I mentioned in the other examples here, quite often Walmart will spend a lot of money trying to pound a fishing nail with a sledgehammer, and that to do it for various reasons. So no, you don't have to spend, and the answer is no, you don't have to spend a lot of money. In fact, you need to work with what you got. So second is kind of generally, what can you do? Okay, what can you do as a small business to compete against larger businesses? I would first of all suggest 3 things: social networking, e-commerce sites, SEO, SM, search engine marketing, social networking, and email marketing. Search engine marketing, we got Facebook, got Twitter, got Pinterest, all these other ones, all the other social networking platforms. It's excellent for connecting with local audiences, connecting with community around you. Whereas these larger businesses, they don't have, believe it or not, they may have lots of folks, huge staff behind them, but they don't have the capacity to shrink themselves down to the community level where you do, where you're at as a small business. Okay, so you're able to connect with the local audience. You're able to, local blogging, community events. This is something that small business, that's their strong point. So that's something you should exploit with social networking, is it's to get you, make sure you establish that angle, that niche, that strength you have. Something else too, those of you who have a sell stuff, a storefront, e-commerce sites. This is something interesting that I had thought about when working with another small business. eBay, Craigslist, OfferUp, LetGo, these e-commerce type of sites. As a small business owner, as a small retailer, these are some places, these areas that you can really exploit. Whereas the larger chains, are, for example, like Walmart, they're not going to sell stuff on eBay or Craigslist or whatever. Now, granted, they have their own marketplace, okay, but all these areas here, these are areas that they're not going to be able to touch. However, small businesses, small retailers are able to exploit that on a daily basis and get low cost, no cost. In fact, they're able to do it right. They're able to have their advertisers make a profit instead of having to throw money in. You're actually making money off your advertisement. But we can talk about that in another episode. Search engine optimization, search engine marketing as a small business is what you should do. Geo-targeting, as I mentioned before, try to target your community, get these long tail keywords, lots of blogging. As I mentioned, social networking, blogging also enhances search engine marketing. These are things that larger retail stores are actually weak at. They're great at spending lots of money to do a blanket advertisement on Google, whatever, and Google's responding in kind. They're getting some top billing, the top listings at a lot of the major search terms. However, there's still plenty of niche areas that these large chain stores don't cover. And that's where you can exploit with geo-targeting and blogging and stuff like that. Last but not least is email marketing. Okay, this is something that is probably the most powerful thing any business can do, and especially small businesses. You start building up a mailing list of your customers, your clients, your friends, your colleagues, your associates, and you'll be surprised how fast a list of a couple thousand can be built in a relatively short time, and be able to, and have a relationship with that list. Okay, whereas it's you as a small business owner sending out to your friends, basically. The same type of mailing list, let's say Walmart or a bigger chain store, doesn't have that personal effectiveness as it would be from a small business. So keep that in mind. What can you do? Last but not least, where can I start? After giving all this information of what can you do, where can you start? Well, this is the tough part. A tough question, even though it's a very simple question, it's really relatively tough to answer. To compete against using the internet, to compete against the big businesses, you need to really know the online strategies, marketing strategies pretty well to exploit it. Okay, for instance, with search engine marketing, you can't just say, I'm going to go grab a couple $100 and buy some AdWords and have at it. You really need to do some research as to where the competitors are at, where they're not, their weaknesses, their strengths, and find those holes. Even with social networking, and the other thing, you need to find those holes, find the niches, which takes some research. It's not difficult, but it requires some knowledge to get you from point A to point B. And this is something you can acquire over time if you don't have it right away. Listen to my podcast, show other things on YouTube, so on and so forth, to build that knowledge up. Another simple thing you do is contact me or somebody like me to help you out. I've worked with a lot of clients in these situations where, and that's why my initial consultation is free, where we're able to take that situation of a small business and do as I did with my other client, analyze what they're doing, their business, what they're trying to accomplish, find out where the competitors are at, find the holes there, and then plan accordingly. Where instead of trying to spend your time and trouble learning all this stuff, just use me. I've already been there. So anyway, so that's a shameless plug. It is my podcast show anyway. I guess I can shamelessly plug me anyhow. So anyway, in kind of closing, a little summary here. Yes, David can beat Goliath thanks to the internet. Okay, your small business can compete and win against bigger businesses, and it happens all day in, day out, all the time. It takes a little bit more cunning. It takes some out of the box thinking, but it's done all the time. So anyway, in the meantime, and I'm going to close the segment out here too. I'm hoping that this makes some sense here. And in the meantime, if you have any questions about this stuff or anything regarding internet marketing or your business, trying to see it online, visit our website, primeconcepts.net. That's PRIMECONCPTS.net. Bookmark the page, and subscribe to the channel, the podcast show, which you'll find all that information, all the links on at primeconcepts.net. Share this stuff with friends and colleagues, and please leave some feedback too. So anyway, if you have any questions about this stuff, if you have any concerns, if you want to, frankly, do this, Okay, if you have some big fish you want to beat up on the internet, we're more than happy to help you. So again, visit primeconsulting.net, and you'll find out contact information there. Or simply call us 760-247-4814, and where you can get your free initial consultation, and we'll do you up and see what we can do. So anyway, that's going to be it. I'm going to go ahead and close it up. Thank you, folks, for watching, listening, and hope this is educational for you and you enjoyed it. And in the meantime, until next time, I wish you good luck and Godspeed to your online success. We'll see you next time.